Hello, I'm Sparks, and I'm calling this channel Japan Stuff. Grammatically incorrect, perhaps. I'm sure there are rules that allow me to not say Japanese stuff because it's Japan related stuff, not. Alright, so hello. This is my first video introducing what I'm intending to be a channel full of stories. And I hope that if you're thinking about going to Japan, or that you've been to Japan and want to relive some of those stories and things, that you'll enjoy the stories that I'm going to tell through here. So I'm not coming to you as an expert. In fact, full disclosure, I've only been there once, and it was enough to captivate me, and I've been interested in it since I went. My daughter and I went on holiday there for only 2 weeks in 2018, and it was through that process that I became even more interested in it. In fact, I wasn't even that interested in it before we went. Let me start at the start. In my 20s, I had wanted to go to Japan as part of my Grand World Tour. I'd planned on finishing off, going around Europe and things, and coming back down through Asia. And I'd planned on stopping in Japan for maybe 3 months or so, and trying to had maybe work in a bar or something. I had lofty ideas of what I was going to do there, and so that would have been. That would have been in the late 90s. Very late 90s, actually, but probably about 99, maybe 2000. I didn't do that. I didn't go. So, as it, life gets in the way of living sometimes. But I met someone special, and we end up getting married. And as we were about to get married, we came up with the idea, and it's like, why not still go? Why not go there and teach English for a couple of years, and we can save up money? And I didn't do that either. So a small time later, say 16 years, a little bit more maybe, and I revisited the idea. I wanted to just do something special with my daughter and myself, and I thought, let's go overseas. And the short list was Ireland and Scotland and Japan, because they're the trilogy that everybody thinks of. But at the time, my children and I also have a son. We were watching a lot of anime, and my daughter was getting into drawing, and she was starting to form a very anime style, being influenced by that. And so I thought, sure. And even preempting going, I bought one of those subscription boxes, and that was a lot of fun, and going, oh, isn't this stuff crazy, and having funny drinks and snacks and all that sort of stuff. And again, it was a good idea. Wanted to go, also take my daughter somewhere that was quite foreign, and I guess Ireland and Scotland, both mainly speaking English, and wasn't that foreign. So that's also why I picked Japan. Now, again, they were quite for modest reasons. I thought, hey, by default, if you say, where's somewhere cool to go in the world, a lot of people think Japan. But again, I wasn't fascinated with the place. I didn't really know enough to be fascinated with the place. So we decided that's where we were going. We booked our tickets. Fortunately, JAL had just started direct flights from parts of Australia straight to Japan, especially Tokyo. So that was good. That was a nice, just straight 10 hours flight, and it was a wonderful experience. It was good. I didn't have to go all over the place just to get there. So then I had to work out where we were going to go and what we were going to do. And indeed, one of the first places, can't even remember how I came across this, one of the first places I'd come across to go, and the way that I broke the news to my daughter was an instant ramen museum in Yokohama. But we didn't end up going there because it was closed when we went. So bad planning, bad luck, who knows? But I'd said to her, oh, look. Right, so just to be clear, this is the origin story of how I broke the news to my daughter that we were going to Japan. I didn't make that clear at all. She wanted to go to a thing and I didn't really want her to go. And so I said, look, instead of going there, I'll make it up to you. Let's go to this instant ramen museum. And she's like, yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, that's really interesting. That's weird. And I went, yeah. The only downside is that it's pretty far away and it's actually going to take us a while to get there. It's going to take us like 10 hours. And she had a little think about it, processed, and realized what that meant. And she got very excited, which is great. So then I had to work out how am I going to find out what we should do. And I started with things like Lonely Planet and TripAdvisor, and then moved to Friends. And Friends were a really good resource of what to do and sobering thoughts. And it's really great just collecting all those ideas. So maybe for you watching this, I'm going to act as another one of those type of influences. I don't know. But I had one friend that said you can't possibly spend 2 weeks in Tokyo, and another friend said you can't possibly spend that long trying to travel from one place to the other. So in Australian terms, if you hadn't already guessed by the accent or this hideous jumper, I'm Australian. And by Australian terms, going from like Tokyo to Kyoto is about like Melbourne to Adelaide, and I've done that once by public transport, and it was not very fun. And so based on that, I was going to make like 3 stops along the way, and a friend of mine said, you can't do that. It for the sake of the better part of a morning, you will be there. You'll be straight there. So changing those plans along the way and watching lots of YouTube, and of course Abroad in Japan, I think is a lot of people's first stop, or a lot of people's second and 100th stop, watching it there. And I think it's a very rich source, really high production. And as I found more and more resources like Joey the Anime Man, and even though it's very anime focused, you get a sense of maybe sometimes they've got some stories about where they've been or what to do or what it's like here or there or whatever. So started collecting these YouTube accounts and watching them and trying to get ideas. And from friends and from blogs and just Googling stuff and moving around on Google Maps and looking for interesting stuff that might be cool. But again, there's only so much you can do in 2 weeks. And well, I guess I should explain our itinerary, sort of, not going to detail just yet. But we're there for 2 and a little bit weeks. So spent the first half of the week in Tokyo, landed straight and stayed in Harajuku. Not as exciting as it used to be, perhaps, but still pretty cool. And we moved around Tokyo a little bit to see some different spots. And then we went to Kyoto and by the Shinkansen, which is a trip unto itself, isn't it? And we had we moved around Tokyo a little bit. Did some touristy things, caught the market, went and did the bamboo forest. Look, it is beautiful, but My advice with that one, if you really want to get in close up to bamboo and find some good stuff, go rural, and you'll be able to walk in the bamboo. Yeah. Went on this absolutely ridiculously beautiful river, little rowboat. It's not a row. We went on this ridiculously beautiful little boat ride. It wasn't that little. I mean, it held about 8 of us. Riverboat ride, and over rocks and things. And it was like single figure degrees at least, if it wasn't minus. The water was freezing if you put your hand in it. There's a little kerosene heater in the boat because that's a great idea. We saw monkeys, we saw snow falling, we saw snow blowing off peaks of mountains either side of us. It was ridiculously beautiful. Kyoto was a stepping stone to go to a little town called Onomichi, and Onomichi. I don't mind. This is a good story expressing my ignorance of Japan. We were walking around Onomichi. It's this lovely little tourist town. It's actually not that little once you go around the mountain, but the bits that we could see when we got there were quite little. And what struck me is that it feels very touristy. For people in Australia, it felt something like Daylesford or something. But it struck me how very little English there was around. Even the vending machines had Japanese writing on them. I mean, all Japanese, including the price. And so the store owners, their English was comparable with my Japanese. Well, I should be kind to them. It was better than my Japanese. As a side note, you have to learn how to say sumimasen. Sumimasen will get you into some great situations. Just starting off talking to someone, saying excuse me or I'm sorry, sumimasen. It just opened doors and put smiles on people's faces, and it's social lubricant. But it struck me how difficult it sort of was to do everyday things if you didn't have any Japanese. And so I asked our hostess, why isn't there much English in a tourist town? And it's about the only time that I was there that I saw someone look at me like I was completely stupid, because I was. And she just said, because Japanese tourists? I'm like, yes. So, of course. So a lot of people from Kyoto and Osaka come to Onomichi, which is, I don't know, like maybe a couple of hours, a few hours, even by car and stuff, to Onomichi. And it's a nice little chill place to chill out in. But for us, it was a means to an end. It was a lovely place in of itself, and I do wish I'd spent more time there. But we only had limited time, for us, it was the start of the Shimanami Kaido, which is a cycling trip, a cycling path. It sounds stupid to call it a cycling path. You can't call something that's 70 kilometers long a cycling path. But I think I'll do a whole video on that because even the existence of it is intriguing, let alone going on it. I cannot ever not recommend it when you're there. Do you have to do it? I mean, you have to do it. But yeah, it's ridiculous. I plan on doing it again at least once or several times. I don't know. And then through a little town called Imabari. Well, it's not even a little town, through a city town called Imabari. But again, it was just a means to an end. And then we were back to Tokyo and back to Harajuku. One straight back from Takadashida Dori in Harajuku. Like one street, like literally just one. Go down a side street, there's their place. It was ridiculous. It was the smallest place ever. It smelled like smoke. but it was cool being there. So that's cool. So that was our itinerary. And as I said, preparing to go there, this is when I actually started to get intrigued by Japan, because I was just like, really? Does this happen? Picking up a phrase or two that I thought, oh, yeah, I know what I'm doing. Picking up a phrase or two here and there, and finding out these little places to go and being given travel things. And it all just snowballed, and it got more and more exciting the closer it got, or the more that YouTube I watched, or the more blogs I read, or the things that I just found in internet searches to do. And we didn't do all of them. There's a lot of areas. I mean, we hardly even scratched the surface. But while we were there too, finding out all these interesting things to do and experience, finding new YouTube resources. I think one time we had a bit of a chill morning, and I found a video by Noriyaro, a little bit like people that were watching Top Gear back years ago. You didn't even have to be a car person to find Top Gear interesting, and it's exactly the same thing with Noriyaro. You don't even have to be that interested in cars to enjoy the content. And I found out about new subcultures and about drifting and about Initial D and all this stuff from watching Noriyaro videos. And it was just one little meetup in a car park that he filmed. I think it was even one of his very earlier videos. And then I became intrigued, and I watched another one, and we didn't get to go and see like a car meetup or anything. It just wouldn't have fitted into our plans. But from there, yeah, boom, it exploded, and I'm looking for car meetups, and I'm joining Facebook groups for motorcyclists in Japan and things like that. So, yeah, it just really expanded from there. And, YouTubers that I wouldn't, that the rest of the content didn't speak to me, but their Japanese content was informative enough. So Sea Dog VA, Connor, his Japanese content is great. One of the things that I'm going to try to offer you is videos of someone that is not living there, that has visited once or twice. I'm trying to curate a bunch of stories and a bunch of things, and maybe, I don't know, maybe product reviews. I drink enough of it and eat enough of it that I could do some cooking videos and product reviews. But these things intrigued me the more and more. And so in this whole time, since that, from just 2 weeks, there was enough to just feed that interest and find these little things. We've got Daiso in Australia, and the area that I live in has enough Asian shops that I can get either grey imports or straight imports and things. And now we've got Boss Coffee as an Australian version. The blue one's okay. I like the blue one. The other ones, I don't know. But the new blue one, I like. It's good. So some of the artifacts that I brought, I'm going to start my whole story arc with artifacts. And what artifacts do you bring back from Japan? What great items of worth do you use your baggage allowance to convey back to here as signs and symbols of the deep culture and your experiences there? Cans. Cans and rubbish is what I brought back. One of the eccentricities of Japan is the lack of bins. And so what started out as me just putting some rubbish, keeping a little plastic bag to put rubbish in, and our cans and bottles and things to take back to wherever we were staying and put in the correct bins, turned into hey, I could use this as a project. And I have to give credit here to a Melbourne artist, Junkie Projects or Mr. Projects, for, I was going to say inspiring, but what I'm going to say is completely stole his idea. Well, I was going to completely steal his idea of wrapping skateboard decks in spread out cans, cut open cans, and tacked in like a patchwork thing, almost like a Fallout 4 type style. And I was going to make either a board or these skate decks, and I never really got around to it, but I kept the cans and some of the labels and things to make some of those works. And so I thought, before I get rid of them, I'm not getting rid of them. It's been years, hasn't it? I thought 2018. It's 2021. Yes. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about some of those cans. Some of them aren't all that interesting, so probably not. But I'm going to tell you about some of those cans, but more importantly, I'm going to use those stories about the particular product as segues to general stories about Japan or what they remind me of. So the first one that I'm going to talk about, the next video, will be centered around, can you have a guess? Canned corn. Yes, you thought I was going to say canned coffee, didn't you? You thought I was going to lead with canned coffee because that's the obvious choice and because I like it. But I'm not, because I'm going to start with canned corn because it's just one of the stories I want to tell first, and the one that this reminds me of, or rather, not this specific can, but one can that didn't make it. Didn't make it. So yes, and this was also a very pleasant surprise for me. So I'm going to start off. I'm going to talk about canned corn. More importantly, it's the stories that I'm reminded of by this particular can. Well, not this particular can, the one that I don't have, and some of the stories around that. So I hope that you will find them interesting. I hope that you will learn something, that it will spark off the interest in you, that it will keep you amused until we can all get back there. Yes, I should have been doing these 2 years ago when lockdown started in 2019. My plan was to visit every 2 years, and that sort of got gazumped by not just lockdown, other things as well. But yeah, especially lockdown, and we're not open yet. Well, they're not open yet. Apparently, we're open. And so before we can get back there again, why not? Got to start sometime. Should have started 2 years ago, and I didn't. So there you go. Next one, canned corn. We'll see where this goes. I'm hoping once I run out of these cans, I've got labels, I've got caps, I've got things, I don't know, and of course product reviews and stuff. I could maybe try and help you chase down some of these things, maybe around where you are, or well, I'm going to probably start where I am. Hey, so I finally found Mitsuya cider in Australia, so that was exciting. All right, so hopefully you'll stick around. Hopefully you'll find my next and subsequent videos of some entertainment and some interesting. And remember, wherever you are, no, that's not my sign out. That's stealing sign outs. Okay, John, no, I haven't got a sign out. I don't think I've got a sign out. I'll have to come up with one, and probably a sign in too, some sort of starty graphic or something. I was trying to write stuff, but it really wasn't going very well. So I'm just going away. All right, I'll have to do the thing, the hand. All right, bye.